And welcome back to Pub for Heretics, where you're welcomed by myself, Blake.
I'm James.
And I am Corbin.
And today we're going to be getting into the shenanigans of backstories with Abaddon, the Despoiler himself.
The best boy.
Easy Kyle. No, not best boy. Definitely not best boy, that's for sure.
Easy Kyle.
Easy Kyle. Come on, settle
Easy
down.
Kyle. Abaddon.
Yeah,
The best guy.
Abaddon.
shut up. I love how you said it twice like we didn't hear you the first time.
No, it just needed emphasis.
Oh, I got it.
Alright, I am going to be covering Abaddon, or as some people call him, Abaddon, or...
Abby.
It depends. I
Abby.
would say you can say both.
Ah,
technically.
yeah, I don't care. I like Abaddon. I call him Abaddon. His other names, because he goes by many. The Despoiler. Ezekiel Abaddon. The Archfiend.
The
War
War
Master of Chaos. Yeah, you almost beat me to that one. Or as Talos calls him, Second War Master.
Yeah.
Or as I call him, Little Abby.
Little Abby.
Little Abby.
Little Abby boy.
Little Abby boy.
He's my little Abby boy.
Hurry up.
He was the first captain of the Lunar Wolves and the Sons of Horus, who are the same people. They just changed their names several times.
They obviously come from the planet of Chthoniya. And the Lunar Wolves had this beautiful white armor when they first started off.
Oh.
Yes, they looked amazing.
Oh, that's
They're
pretty
called the
sweet.
Lunar Wolves because their home base and training grounds are on Luna,
Oh.
the moon of Terra.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So is this 30k?
This is
This
still
is-
30k.
this is
This is
still 30K.
before Horus Heresy.
Oh,
Lunar
this is
Wolves
all
is
before.
30k.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, just the armor looked very 30k. Like it has all those nipples all over the fucking, you know, where they got the bumps and
What
stuff.
nipples
like,
are you talking
They
about?
got all the,
Oh, no, that's normal.
That's normal. That's
everyone
still on
has the
40k.
nipples on their shoulders and stuff. I don't get it, but
Yeah.
it's very 30k by the sounds of it.
Yeah. So, Abaddon was one of only a few space marines who were able to fill his daddy's shoes and arguably do a better job. There's not many others that really do that.
Well, then if he would have done that, he would have beaten Terra by now.
He's done a fucking great job. What are you talking about? The emperors are dead. Why would he bother?
Oh, dead dude in the chair.
Yeah, dead dude in the chair.
He's still alive. He's not dead.
He's not alive.
Then why do they keep saying death to the false emperor?
Second death.
Whatever.
They know very well about second death.
Why
Anyway, he is blessed by all four chaos gods, but he's not a demon primarch or prince. He has not become a slave to the chaos powers, but he does use them.
So he's not been like demonified like
yeah.
Mortarion or Magnus or such.
Yeah.
But
He's
has
not
been-
he's not
juiced.
Snake Boy Fulgrim.
Yeah, he's warp juiced. He still
Oh, yeah.
retains his humanoid sort of
Yes.
persona.
Yeah.
He just takes parts from everyone else. He's got Horus's arm and he's got the demon sword. Why does he
The
need
Talon of Horus. Yeah, well, we'll cover both the Talon of Horus and Dracnian in this episode.
Yeah.
Draken.
He doesn't need to turn into a demon. He's already won.
Yeah. He's got several
Well,
demons
there's also
in
a
that
reason
sword.
why. There's a reason why he hasn't changed to demon, but I'm sure Corbin will get to it.
Yeah, because yes, I will. All right. So, a little bit before he became a space marine, we'll hear about this. I'm not sure if you even know about this, Blake. Do you know about his past before he became a space marine?
A smidge, because this is mentioned in the Siege of Terror books a little bit.
True. Yeah. So before he was a space marine, he was the firstborn son of one of Chthonia's gang warlords.
This I did know.
Yeah, when he reached adulthood, his father expected him to complete a coming-of-age ritual involving killing all of his closest friends. Abaddon
Because back then, to point out, in the time frame, Chthoniya hadn't been discovered by the Imperium yet,
Yes.
and Horus was on this planet living, but he wasn't discovered by the Emperor yet. So Chthoniya was like Mad Max barbarian world.
Actually, at this point, Horus had already been found by the Emperor on
Oh, had he?
Chthoniya.
Okay, never
Yeah.
mind. Sorry, I thought he went with.
But he's left Chthoniya,
Oh, okay, never
and
mind. That's me, sorry.
but Chthoniya is ruled by gang warlords.
Yeah.
Very, very like criminal underhive kind of shit.
Like Gotham, but not as...
Not quite as bad.
No.
Yeah.
It's more like
Post-apocalyptic.
lawless Greece.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Lawless Grease.
Yeah.
Are you talking about Grease the musical?
Isn't that already lawless?
Yeah. It's like what's that? No, never
Have you
mind.
seen the shenanigans with those hair? Lawlessness was happening.
Yeah, leather jackets abound.
Someone's got chills and they're
Yeah.
multiplying.
But Abaddon then turned to his father, refused, and expressed disdain for kingship, executing his father and his bodyguards.
Beautiful.
Yeah. He then
You mean his adopted father?
no,
his
his
actual
birth father, because they're humans before they become
Oh, that's
space
right.
marines.
Yes,
Yes.
they are too.
Because you got to remember, he's not a Primarch.
No.
But you
right.
keep
I
calling
was-
him one.
And it says adulthood, but I think it's like, you know, like Jewish or like Greek adulthood. He's like 14.
Oh,
He's
yeah,
like
yeah.
reached adulthood.
Cultures have different ideas of what adulthood is.
Yeah, because it also then refers to him as being like a youth at this point still, too.
Gotcha,
So he's young. So after that, he left to live in exile. But the young warrior's massive build and natural ferocity saw him grow into a legend on his home world. And one day, he was ambushed by a rival gang and almost killed. But he was saved by Hester Sejanus and Syracuse.
Sir Janus, really?
Sir Janus saved
Ah,
him. They're the
okay.
ones who pulled him out. And they then took him to Luna to become a Lunar Wolf. So this is when he was implanted with all of the things, like walked us through how you become a Space Marine. He got all that shit done. He went through the trials on Luna.
Yep.
And then during the Great Crusade, he quickly rose to become the first captain and got his sick Terminator armor.
To point out as well, first captain is like the highest rank that a Space Marine can achieve in their Legion because you're like the right-hand man to your Primarch.
Yeah, you're second
Oh,
in
okay.
charge.
Yeah.
Yeah.
When the Primarch's not around, you're in charge.
Yeah, and this led to him joining the Mournival. Have you heard the term Mournival? Probably not, because you haven't read the first 3 like books of the Horus Heresy, like
Hey,
we've been telling you to.
I opened the front cover.
So the Mournival is like the inner Horus's inner sanctum. It's his advisors. It's his like head captains, the people he trusts the most.
Oh, okay.
Because Horus was so like humble and like insightful and self-reflective, he wanted to create like a small council of 4 members, if I remember right.
Yeah.
Where they would openly critique him, and the word was coined by Loken, by Cinderman, to become a naysmith. It is my job to disagree with you.
Yes.
Because when you are someone as a Primarch who has that absolute power, you need someone to tell you no, because other people are just going to agree with whatever
You're
you
gonna
say
be
or just
yes
follow
man
you,
and-
because
yeah.
they'll never say no to you. But
Yeah.
if you have like a dedicated group of friends to say no, that's wrong. Prove to me why it's right. That's what the point of the Mournival was.
Yes, to keep him on the straight and narrow, and they were his like most trusted advisors.
Yeah.
Because if I remember right, it was Loken, Tormageddon, Little Horus,
Little
and then
Horus.
Abaddon.
Abaddon.
There's no little Abby.
No.
Another.
Abby
little...
is like a
Abby
little
is
version
basically
of
Little
Horus.
Horus.
Yeah, basically. Except Little Horus is actually Horus Eximand, who's another member of the
Also,
Lunar Wolves.
just a little aesthetic thing as well. I'm not sure if you're going to mention it, but the Sons of Horus, as you can tell by Abaddon in this picture, they love the little top knot thing. That's a Chthonian custom.
Yeah.
And that's why in some of the Black Legion models, you'll see a lot of them have those little top knot things.
I've noticed
and I
that.
don't use them with my Night Lords because it's not lore accurate.
I thought it was like they were doing that just because of Abaddon. Like I didn't know
It is partially
went from,
that.
Like
Yeah.
Horus or
Now in 40k, it is partially that, but it is a Chthonian sort
Chthonian,
of.
Yeah.
Okay.
Abaddon
Traditionally.
is also rumored to be a gene clone of Horus. So his seed is rumored to be like directly from Horus himself, which is why he looks very, very similar to Horus.
I doubt that, but like at the same time,
It's talked about in the books, like as in like
Yeah, he
other
genu-
members of the Legion are like, oh,
yeah,
okay.
where Kaon's just like, "Are you a clone?" and Avalon's like, I don't know, and does it matter?
Yeah, yeah. So then, he loved Horus. Horus was his father, and he was undyingly loyal to him. Like, you couldn't say a bad word about Horus in front of Abaddon without getting killed.
Interesting thing as well. Horus, because he was discovered, he took like the natives of Chthonian into his legion,
Yeah.
and because of that, all the other legions did the same thing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And in the Ulanor Crusade, so this was right before he became War Master. You remember talking about it?
Yeah,
the big
Yeah, this
attack
is the
on
big,
the orcs?
the last orcs. Yeah.
Yeah. So Abaddon went with Horus and a large detachment of Terminators from the First Company to the headquarters of the Orc war boss, Urlak Urg.
Gesundheit.
The Terminators held the entrance while Horus slew the war boss, but when Horus returned, only Abaddon was left alive, buried under a mountain of orc bodies.
Mind you, the Justarian, which are the black-clad Terminators that Abaddon leads, like the First Company, best of the best. So the fact that Abaddon was the only one left standing with all the other orcs proves his skill.
That's pretty crazy.
Yeah.
As
well-
much shit as I'll dish on him, he's an excellent swordsman.
Oh, absolutely.
And I don't know if you'll mention it, but did he have the sword by then?
No.
Or the claw?
Sword,
So this
sword
is
is
all before.
way...
I'll get to the sword.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll get to the sword. He doesn't even have the claw. Horus is still wearing the claw.
Still, yeah.
Yeah. So, angry with the decision of the Emperor to leave the legions and return to Terra, he joined a warrior lodge in the Lunar Wolves. So the warrior lodges were a group within the Legion, highly secret, where members left their rank at the door and spoke freely with each other.
Basically kind of like a union,
Oh,
Yeah.
that's cool.
but like secret. And it was also a big no-no because it was against army hierarchy.
Wow, Horus knew about it and didn't.
Horus knew of it,
Didn't
and so did
care.
Jagged-Eye Khan, but like
Yeah.
it's still a no-no.
Yeah. But little did they know that these lodges throughout the legions were actually all Erebus and the Wordbearer's plan to seed heresy and doubt in the legions.
Fuck Erebus.
Yes.
Oh, so that's okay.
So it was like a way of like trying to break down the walls of the hierarchy, so that way, I'm upset with this, I'm upset with that. So it's like to try and help bring in discord in the Legion.
And to create like a brotherhood stronger
A secret brotherhood, yeah.
than like what they are in their own like groups.
yeah.
But yeah, this lodge affiliation is why Abaddon and most of the Mournival allowed Erebus to get so close to Horus and advise him, whispering his treachery into Horus's ear. Because as Blake said, fuck Erebus.
Yeah, because Erebus is a word bearer,
Yeah.
and the
Yeah.
word bearers were traitors way before any of this.
Yes, and they're the ones who spread lodges throughout all of the legions. This led to the Horus heresy we learnt about from Blake in a previous episode, and the Siege of Terra.
Nice plug.
Towards the end of the heresy, Abaddon started to see how Horus had been giving in to the corruption of the warp, and lost respect for him, seeing him as a slave to chaos.
Yeah, and on that point, like I'm reading the Siege of Terra books at the moment, he is very dissuaded because Horus didn't leave his command ship. He didn't leave the Vengeful Spirit. He never set foot on Terra once and didn't lead his armies from the front, which is what Horus is well known for.
Yeah.
And it got so bad to the point where Abaddon was making decisions with Perturabo about the battles.
Yeah.
Because
Abaddon was basically serving as Horus in his stead
Horus
because
wasn't
Horus
there.
was sitting on a throne in a comatose state, basically.
yeah.
Looked after by his Dark Apostle, who I don't remember the name of, starts with EL or something like that, but
Yeah, I can't remember.
it doesn't.
But
He's in
he
it.
was also
He's not important.
he was also in and out of that like meditation comatose because he was kind of communing with the Emperor while he was on the throne.
Yeah.
And like you're going to die, you're going to be a hater, you're going to lose.
Yeah. But there was also, as the Dark Apostle mentioned to Abaddon, it was slowly eating his soul. The
Yeah.
more he gave into the corruption, the like weaker Horus got.
Yeah.
It was
And so they
yeah.
knew there was a timer going down.
Not just because Gilliam and Russ, Lionel Johnson and Korax were on their way.
Yeah, Horus is literally dying to the warp. There were so many cool things that Abaddon did during the heresy, but we will be here all day if we go through them all. Do you have any like standout mentions that you want to mention, Blake?
Probably the one that I just read, and I think it was a Saturnine book. Yeah, it's a Saturnine because there's a part of the wall in the Siege of Terra that is was overlooked by Dawn and might be an easy area to breach. So
Overlooked.
it was overlooked.
No, it wasn't.
Well, no, it was overlooked, but then they used it to their advantage.
Yes.
So Abaddon with Perturabo was able to try and figure out a way of going under the wall.
Well, Perturabo didn't want to do it initially, and it wasn't until
Yeah.
Abaddon said that, hey, I'll lead it, so if it fails, it's on me, not you, so you
Yeah.
don't look bad, Purdy.
Which comes back to bite them on the ass eventually.
Yeah.
Because, so they get these diggers to go underneath the wall, and then that way they could send up these little trackers so the Terminator companies can teleport in, because you know how Terminators can deep strike, so that way they can just. Because one thing about the Black Legion is that they were the best at spearhead assaults, where like a small company of elites will come in, like the front of a spear tip, and then the rest of them can come in
behind.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's what they were good at.
Yeah.
And that's what he was trying to do. But the problem is that they didn't realize that Rogel Dawn and everybody knew of that. So Dawn assembled a big group of Chads involving Garrow, Loken, who's a former stayed loyal.
Yeah, he's the
And-
one who escaped. He escaped from Esteban 3 when they tried to eliminate the loyalists in
Yeah.
their ranks.
Okay.
Because, like I said in one of the other episodes, when they went from the Lunar Wolves, they were that pure white armor, and then they went to the Sons of Horus when he became War Master, and they have like a sea green armor.
Oh, okay.
And
Yeah,
but-
it's like an aquamarine almost, like
Yeah.
but like a green jady tinge.
whereas Loken,
It's probably their worst color schemes.
Oh,
it's,
yeah. I
it's,
don't
it's,
think I've ever...
it's not their worst, but it's not.
Oh, I do. Yes, I've
Yeah.
seen. Yeah.
Whereas Loken, when he stayed loyal, he went back to his Lunar Wolves. So when Abaddon and all that came through the wall and came through the little dugouts, they just saw Loken there standing in his pristine white armor, and Garrow, who's another Chad, just surrounded by Imperial fists.
Garrow
fucks them right
is the
up,
Death Guard loyalist.
Oh, yeah.
who
yeah.
warned everybody about.
He's the one who got
the
backhanded
traitor.
by Dawn.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then and then Loken went off to go chase Little Horus,
Yes.
one of the other members of the Mournival.
Well, because on Esteban 3, Abaddon and Little Horus actually went down and tried to kill
Loken and Tormund.
Loken at that point.
It was
too.
basically half the Mournival versus half the Mournival.
Yes, and yeah.
It was very much like a Revenge of the Sith. You were the chosen one. Like
So
brother
was it
against brother.
Was it a big battle or was it?
Huge battle.
Huge
Great
battle. Basically, Abaddon got covered in rubble.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
He had like a
Loken-
small tower like brought down on him.
Tormageddon was killed, and Loken was presumed dead.
Yes.
And yeah, back to this fight. So
Yes.
what happened with Abaddon is that he was getting surrounded by Blood Angels champions. He was getting carved up by Garrow, and then he was also getting carved up by another World Eater's Black Shield, who stayed loyal. Well, because not all, like I said, not all the traitors agreed, and some of them stayed loyal.
Because I was going to say, weren't the World Eaters part of like the
Traitor legions, they
Yeah.
were, but individual members stayed loyal.
Well, when they tried to kill the loyalist aspects of the Traitor Legion on Esteban 3, some of them survived and managed to get back to Terra to help them fight.
And not all of them were there. Some of them may have been.
Which
like,
is why
on different
Garrow's
outposts.
Death Guard, and Loken was the Lunar Wolves,
Wolves, yeah.
and there's World Eaters and stuff like that.
Individual members may have stayed loyal, but the Legion as a whole went traitor.
The only one that really didn't, that I haven't heard of anyone being loyalist from, is Thousand Sons.
Was this right?
Thousand Sons is the only Traitor Legion I haven't heard of somebody being like a loyalist still.
Well, wasn't there one in that Battle for Abyss?
Oh, there was, yeah. No, there is one. Yeah, so basically all of the Traitor Legions have
And I know-
a small amount of loyalists.
And I know Janice from the Grey Knights is also one of them as well.
True.
So there's one or two, but like I said, it's the Legion as a whole went traitor, but there may have been individual members that stayed loyal.
Yeah.
Because before we've gotten as far as we have, but previous, I always thought that it was like everyone was like an ultramarine, and then half of them left, and then that's when they became traitors, and then just depending on what chaos god they followed would be just what army they sort of
Went into,
So if like half of them were like, oh, I like the unclean one, then they would go to like the Death Guard, and that's how I thought it was.
On
is
an
that everyone
individual
was-
basis, if you were to tell me that an ultramarine defected and then went to Nurgle and became Death Guard, I could believe that.
Yeah.
On an individual basis, but it not as like on a mass problem.
Yeah, because that's what I thought is. I just thought that there was obviously something. Everyone was like an ultramarine. Like I just thought everyone was ultramarine. That's how they started.
And then they all defected.
And then half of them disagreed with whatever the Emperor was doing. So the half that disagreed then become traitors, and then they would file into armies depending on which chaos god they.
It's a misconception.
That's what I sort of thought.
But do
That's
you have-
probably a
but do you
common
ha-
misconception because the poster boys take such like a.
Yes,
they're like,
like
oh
they're-
yeah,
They're on the
everybody
boxy
knows.
art. They're on the box art.
Because it's
they're on
like the
posters,
ultramarines
Yeah.
versus the
They get
aliens.
the games.
Yeah.
It's like ultramarines versus orcs, or ultramarines versus like anything that's then alien.
Yeah.
That's how I viewed it.
But now you're finding out it's a deeply personal thing.
It is,
And-
yeah. It's like it's why.
And why people get so offended when you only say that Space Marines are Ultramarines.
Well,
Yeah.
yes,
All
do.
Ultramarines are Space Marines. Not all Space Marines are Ultramarines.
yeah,
No, but do you have that cleared up now?
yeah.
Yeah.
It does make, because I was like, wait,
It makes
why
for
is
interesting storytelling.
why is some of the World Eaters like going against the Black Legion or against Abaddon when they're a traitor unit as well. Like, wouldn't they be fighting with Abaddon, if anything?
Yeah, and then you come to find out it's a very deeply like
It's more than
interesting.
Hey, I just collect them and paint them, but this is the whole.
You're learning.
Yeah.
It is. It is very interesting.
So yeah, and then what happened was is that he was taking on Garrow, who's a Chad with this sword that can like cut through anything. So Abaddon then carves up the Blood Angels champion, takes out the World Eater loyalist, and then he's just like in that moment he's thinking about how Perturabo has kind of like screwed him over a little bit, or how he could have
the
foreseen
digging
this.
engine stopped working halfway
and then
through.
and then he starts getting a little bit more of that like, oh, I hate this shit. This is stupid. Next time I see him, I'm gonna shove that staff down his fucking throat and all that kind of stuff.
And Perturabo's a Primarch, and
Yeah,
he's
a
just
Primarch.
the first captain.
And then he's like, no, I actually want to thank Perturabo for this, because finally I'm about to meet my warrior's death. I am so sick of seeing all this warp taint, all this sorcery. I am so sick of it. This is the warrior's death. This is how I should have gone out in the first place.
Yeah.
I should have died on Isfan 3 with Loken. This is how I'm meant to go out. And then as the Garrow's sword is about to come down and kill him, he gets teleported back out. And then
Because that's when the void shields of the Vengeful Spirit went down. That's Horus bit challenging her.
No, this is months before that.
Oh, is it?
No, this is months before that.
Oh, because there's a second time that he gets pulled back to the Vengeful Spirit unexpectedly.
This is way before that. He's then brought into the arms of, I think it was either a Mechanicus or another son of Horus.
something 73.
And then they're like, "Are you okay, sir?" And then he's weeping, and then he just whispers, "Send me back," because he wants to die.
Yeah.
He's
He
over it.
Die the warrior's death.
It actually made me feel for him when I read that.
Yeah, but yeah. So there's also so many other cool stories. But
I'm only halfway
basically,
through, yeah.
Basically, he manages to get back down there. He's fighting. Horus puts down the void shields of the Vengeful Spirit to challenge the Emperor to join.
Because Gilliman's like hours away.
Yeah, and Horus is like losing the fucking plot, and so Abaddon gathers everybody together. Somebody challenges him, being like, "Oh, you're trying to run, you're a coward." He's like, "Fucking die."
Oh, is this after he's been teleported?
This is afterwards.
So he goes back down to fight more with
Go back down
with other captains and stuff. And then so he kills the guy who was like calling him a coward. They go to make their way to the gunships to go back to the Vengeful Spirit.
Yep.
And when suddenly they're teleported back.
Oh god damn.
And he has to fight through warp shit.
Who's bloody on that teleporter button?
Pretty much.
Tell Scotty to calm down with the teleports.
Fuck yeah. And so he's fighting through, and he has to fight corrupt fucking world eaters that are losing shit, that were his comrades in arms.
Because at this point, the Iron Warriors have dipped, and the Iron Warriors were the only ones that had like held everything together.
Yeah.
All the Chaos Legions are starting to like go even more insane.
Yeah, well, they're in a blood rage, the World Eaters. They're just like, fucking kill! Blood for the Blood God!
Oh, so this is when they're starting to
This is on the Vengeful Spirit.
No,
They were
World
teammates.
Eaters are just like, yes, this is the best time for us.
Yeah.
You know, they're just like, because the more they kill, the more they get into the blood drunk kind of thing, and then they just keep going.
And the Emperor's children have already dipped.
Yeah, they dipped because Rogel Dawn, as he did, backhanded them.
But actually, Erebus comes in, stops Abaddon from killing all the World Eaters, settles
He's
them
over
down,
it,
and he's like, "It's okay, boys, it's okay." Fucking Erebus. And so then they're trying to make their way over to Horus, who's facing off with Sanguinius and the Emperor.
Because Abaddon's trying to be there for that. Because his Primarch is finally fighting.
Yeah.
And he wants to be there with it.
Yeah. They come across some bloody custodians. Abaddon starts to whoop some custodian ass along with the help of Erebus.
Even the female custodians, because that's pretty.
They died first.
Air high five.
Yes, but Constantine Valdor.
Who?
Constantine Valdor
Constantine
is the
Valdor
leader of the custodians.
Not a swear word. We don't have to take that out. He it starts to give Abaddon some trouble because he's like the biggest, baddest custodian.
You know how the custodians are like the biggest, beefiest boys on the planet that can take on anybody?
Boys and girls.
Yes, imagine their leader.
Yes,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
like the chapter master of like the custodians if they were a chapter. But anyway, so Abaddon's
Are
facing
they
off
not a
against him.
chapter?
No,
Oh.
they're bigger than Space Marines. They're halfway between Space Marines and Primarchs.
They're technically
I know
agents of the Imperium. They're not Space Marines.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know. I knew that they were like bodyguards for
They're
the
like-
They're
Emperor.
They're like-
vat-grown babies that are
Yeah.
like great big.
They're like Space Marine adjacent. They're not the same thing.
No, they're not.
They're better.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because they're the Emperor's
They're not
body.
better.
They're
Yeah, they're the
Emperor's
Golden
bodyguards.
Boys, yeah.
Yeah.
So they're
They're
the,
stuck-up pieces of shit. They're like, oh, your fathers were the Primarchs. Our father is the Emperor. Yeah. Ick.
Justified.
Brother, ew. Anyway.
brother. Ew.
Yeah, and so Erebus then basically dispatches with Constantine Veldor. They continue making their way through.
which again, to his credit,
Yes.
not an easy feat.
No.
Yeah.
But then they don't get there because Dawn turns up.
Fuck you.
But basically, we know what happens.
Sanguinius gets killed. And spun up by
Sanguinius gets
James.
killed.
Horus
Emperor doesn't give a shit. Horus kills some other like dude.
The Emperor did
and
give a
the
shit.
Emperor's like, "No, now you die!" and kills
that's
Horus.
right.
The
Yeah,
Emperor
yeah.
gave a shit.
No, nobody
did.
cares about Sanguinius. Fuck you, Blangles. Anyway,
I thought we were going to say "fuck you, Blake," and then I realized you said "Blangles." And I'm
Yeah.
not sure which one's more offensive.
and if you don't know, Blangles is Blood Angels.
Yeah,
Oh,
Yeah,
okay.
and that's why Dark Angels are called Dangles.
No, they're called that for a different reason. It's because they don't wipe their ass.
oh,
Dark Angels fans don't wipe their ass.
all right.
Anyway, Horus is dead. Abaddon leads the retreat out of
Yeah,
the Sol
because-
system.
Because at this point, Gilliman starts turning up, and then the whole fleet, and then the phalanx that was sitting out in the space by like waiting for a retreat
Yeah.
and waiting for the reinforcements. So imagine that your Primarch's now dead. Everything's gone to shit. Whatever plans you had is gone, and
Yeah.
now you're being fired on by the Ultramarines,
That's
the
right.
Phalanx,
This
which is
is-
the biggest ship.
This
So
is where we were
Perturabo
talking at the
did-
end of the
Yeah.
the last where
Yeah.
they were okay
Because
gotcha.
Perturabo dipped with his group.
Yep.
Fulgrim already dipped with the
Emperor's children.
Emperor's children. The word bearers are a fucking raving mess.
Yep.
You know,
And Lorgar's not even there. He's like,
Lorgar's already gone.
the Night
Erebus-
Lord's already dipped the moment trouble went back.
Night Lords have already dipped. So it's just like the Sons of Horus,
World Eaters
Erebus, and World Eaters going absolutely batshit crazy.
and Death Guard were the last ones to leave.
And Death Guard because, yeah, my boys. But they've lost Mortarion at this point.
Yeah.
Mortarion's back in the
Oh,
war.
and
That's
also
right.
Magnus dipped too.
Yeah. But Magnus got sad and left.
Mm.
He didn't even really get defeated. He just got sad and left. So Abaddon organizes this absolute chaotic scene into an evacuation.
As best he could.
Yeah, and so they dip back to the Eye of Terror, and
This is the great scouring at this point, where
Yes,
the
they're
loyalists
being-
are chasing down these traitors and
Oh,
like,
that's right. Yeah, they go. Yeah, they
Yeah.
go run.
and
And this is after they killed the Emperor, or they.
this
Emperor's
is
been
all
taken
happened.
to the throne.
Siege of
Dead
Terror has happened.
Yeah,
Everything, yeah.
So the Emperor's like half.
guy on a throne.
Yeah, half dead.
Yeah.
He's on the throne. Sanguinius is
Basically just
dead.
bones on a throne being
Yeah.
fed souls.
Yeah, and then this is them leaving.
The fucking blasphemy over here.
and
Hey,
then-
these episodes today, absolute heresy, and you can
They're
do
all
nothing
heresy.
to stop me.
No matter what, if I'm hosting or not, it's always heresy. So when am I going to pull out my shenanigans?
Wait, what are we called again?
yeah,
Puff loyalists.
pub full of heresy.
So, after they got back to the Eye of Terror, they set up on this world, which I can't remember the name of. I didn't have it written down.
Just double checking. Do you remember what the Eye of Terror is?
Oh, isn't this the way to get into the? Isn't this the bit where the warp was?
This is where
Yeah.
the warp. This is where Slanesh was birthed. So it's like a giant cut in
in the warp.
in real space.
Yeah.
Where it's like a funnel,
warp
a little
bleeds
gateway where
through.
you can go straight into the warp and then
Into the
straight
warp.
back out.
Yeah. And
With
it
some
was-
difficulty, but
It was the bit that was they
Until
the
Abaddon
Emperor-
fixes that.
The Emperor was having to hold back, otherwise, if he
no,
didn't.
Two different things.
Yes,
Oh,
no,
so-
so this is like, do you have a map of the galaxy? I'm pretty sure I have it here, actually, somewhere. Yes, so it's basically like a giant rip that from the birth of Slanesh, where the warp bleeds into the universe. And what you're thinking of is when Magnus punched a hole in the protective barrier around Terra and let like demons try to come through. And the Emperor had to hold
There's two
that
of them.
back.
There's one above Terra, and then there's one over here near Cadia on the other side of the galaxy.
Yeah, but the one over Terra is just like teeny tiny. This one is
just
like
enough to let
fucking
demons
huge.
through.
Yeah, just enough, just like a toe hold. But this one is like a great big fucking like bigger than a
Gate.
spaceship. It's like
Size of a small galaxy.
yeah. It's the warp's prolapsed anus.
That's one way to think about it. But yeah, it is really.
It's a bloody rose.
I just got what you said. That's disgusting.
All right. Anyway,
Oh, that caught me so off guard.
so they've returned. They've made their home on a world in the Eye of Terror.
Because as we remember, there are worlds inside the warp and the Eye of Terror.
Yep.
All I can see is this like big ship.
No, don't go down that way. I can see where you're going.
Yeah. The vengeful spirit turned into a butt plug.
Yeah.
Oh, god damn it.
But yeah, so the Sons of
Penetrating
Horus,
the bloody
Stop it.
the Sons of Horus made a fortress world on this
It's not fun when
planet.
people do it in your episode, is it?
No, it's still fun. I love the heresy. Bring it on. So they made the fortress on this world to like recoup. Abaddon was like, "Fuck you! I'm sick of this. I'm sick of war.
Fuck
What are
this
we even
shit, I'm
doing
out."
this? Yeah, fuck this shit. I'm out." And he left to go and be by himself on the Vengeful Spirit with like 30,000 crew.
Yeah, just a small party.
just a small party.
Yeah, but he basically went on a pilgrimage, didn't he?
Basically, yeah, and he
Just
was
the people to make the ship go.
yeah, no,
Honestly,
but he
that
went
is it.
he went deep into the warp to be like, what am I doing? Where am I? Who am I? You know,
Just like
he's basically Zoolander at this point. He's like,
Yeah.
who am I?
Just like a 20-year-old on a gap year right out of high school.
Yes. At this point, the Emperor's children raided the Sons of Horus fortress and stole Horus's corpse.
Oh, okay.
Yes, Fabius Bile. Have you heard the term, the name
Yeah.
Fabius Bile?
He's the doctor dude. Like
Dr.
he's the
Doom
one
from
that-
the Emperor's children, yes,
Yeah.
yes. So he used
So
the body of
it's
Horus.
heretics you remember, but not loyalists.
Absolutely.
Yes.
So he used the body of Horus to make some clones. But he also, from, as we learned in the Deliverance book, he has the gene seeds of all 20 Primarchs. And it wasn't just Horus that he cloned. Basically, a couple of things happened, like the
Wasn't it
of
at this
captains.
point where they found Abaddon?
Yes, so they basically went and found Abaddon. They told
So
him
a bunch of,
Abaddon was livid.
Like another emperor's children, a world eater, and then 1,000 sons. Like they all came to try and go after him and find him and be like, "Hey, we need you to bring us all together and fight this."
Yes,
And
it was. I can tell you the names.
I know Isakander Kaon was one of them because
Yeah.
he's 1,000 sons.
Yeah, it was, and it was Telemachon, who was
was this-
actually a prisoner at the time.
He's an emperor's children.
Leovin, and there is what was the other guy's name? Fool something. Focus Kyber. And a whole bunch of people like with them too.
And
like,
then Abaddon was like, "Look at this, different legions working together for a common cause."
yes, and he was livid. He
When
was like,
when he found out about Horus's body.
"Ooh, they're gonna make a clone of Horus? Fuck you are!"
Because also at this point, a lot of the Legion didn't respect Horus because he lost,
Yeah.
because he was a loser.
Well, he particularly was not happy.
He saw Abaddon ended up growing into the idea that Horus was weak.
Yeah, so he already
sat
had
on the ship for half the.
Yeah,
Well, not just that
battle
as well,
and-
but because he let
gave
the
into
powers
chaos.
control.
Yeah, he lost control of chaos.
Yeah.
So Abaddon took the talon of Horus. This is where he gets the claw, and he went to the Emperor's children's ship, which is called Flesh Market.
Wonder what they sell there.
Yeah, well, inside they found deformed clones of all 20 Primarchs, not 18.
Oh,
All 20 Primarchs had been cloned.
so even
on
the
this
two
ship.
that are
Missing.
missing. but-
Yes, redacted.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Yes. Abaddon and the Sons of Horus and the other people they were with dispatched them all, and then they came across the clone of Horus. A battle ensued. Clone Horus did some damage to a few of the other captains there. But Clone Horus then stopped, looked at Abaddon, looked down at his claw, and was like, "That's mine." At this point, Clone Horus didn't recognize who Abaddon or any of these people were, but he recognized the claw and he was like, "That's mine. Like, fucking give it back." And Abaddon then chose that point to impale Clone Horus with the claw itself. And with his dying breath, Clone Horus remembered who Abaddon was, and he was like, "My son." And Abaddon replied with, "I am no longer your son." Rip! You know. And that's when they stopped becoming the Sons of Horus.
They become
The Black Legion.
Legion.
Yeah.
It's because of that you paint your old Legion's armor black
Yes.
and gold, so that way you are no longer... You're like shedding off your former skin of your former allegiances.
Yes.
So say, for example, if you're like a world eater, but you don't like the way that your world eater's warband is going about things, it's very simple-minded, and you want to take on the world, you want to take on the Imperium on a longer scale plan, you join Black Legion.
Yeah, like Leo Van Urkus.
Yeah.
We'll talk about him in the Black Legion
Yeah.
episode. So this is when Abaddon took control, formed the Black Legion as we know it now, purging anyone who wouldn't follow him, because, other captains were like, "Oh, blah, blah, blah," and he's like, "Dead.
yeah.
Fuck you, I'm super strong." And he brought in people from all other legions to join his Long War. And the Long War is what they call the war against Imperium.
Yeah.
And that's why one of the detachments you can take in Chaos Space Marines is called Veterans of the Long War.
Oh yeah.
But have you heard about Abaddon making all the demon Primarchs kneel to him?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, all of them bow to him.
So
And I couldn't
at
fucking
this
believe
point-
that.
At this point, there is civil war in the Eye of Terror. The Death Guard are fighting the
Thousand
World
Sons.
Eaters, and the Thousand Sons are like fighting against
Emperor's
everyone.
children fighting everybody. Word
Yeah.
bearers are trying to fight everybody. Night Lords are just trying to hide.
Yes.
Iron Warriors are just like, keep your shit away from me.
Yeah, and basically the Black Legion put an end to all of it, and made the Demon Primarchs kneel to Abaddon, who's roided out on Chaos.
Yeah.
So Angron, Mortarion,
Yes.
Magnus, Lorgar.
But
Fulgrim.
Magnus was actually refused and was forced to his knees by Kaon, which we will talk about that in Kaon's episode.
Really?
Kaon's bit. Yes.
Really?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, and this brings us to the Black Crusades. So, first Black Crusade.
What's
Abaddon
that?
slays Sigismund.
No. Wasn't the first Black... Was that the first Black Crusade?
The first Black
yeah,
Crusade.
Yeah. Okay.
Abaddon slays Sigismund, Marshal of the Black Templars.
Okay, so just to point out, you remember in the Siege of Terror episode we were talking about how afterwards the Codex Astartes was created by
yeah,
Guilliman, and Guilliman decided that all of the Space Marine legions should be split up into chapters to dilute the power.
And then
So
also
the
made it where you can only have so many.
Yeah,
1,000.
so the first captains and the sergeants of the Imperial Fist, for example, those ended up becoming the chapter masters of their own chapters.
Yes.
So say, for example, Sigismund, who was
Dawn's favourite.
Dawn's first captain, he became the chapter master of the Black Templars. And then Alexis Pollux, who was another not a first captain, but he was a captain of a company,
Yeah.
he ended up doing the Crimson Fists, and so forth and so forth. And that's how they were all sorted out into chapters.
Yes.
One of the most prolific, I would say the most prolific second founding is the Black Templars,
Yes.
because Sigismund...
They're the
was
most well known.
most well-known, prolific.
Yeah. But so this is first captain versus first captain
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah.
thing. Except that he's now basically a chapter master,
Chapter,
Sigismund, of the Black Templars,
Mm-hmm.
but which they call the Marshals.
High Marshal.
High Marshal. Yes.
Because how they get around the Codex Astartes of not having is obviously they're always on crusade, and then if they're always on crusade, you can have as many as you want. So
You can have more
instead
than
of having
1,000,
chapter
yeah.
masters, they have marshals, So you're Marshal of that 1,000 of Black Templars, you're the Marshal of that 1,000 Black Templars, and then they all report to the High Marshal, which is Sigismund, and in today's universe in 40k, it's High Marshal Helbrecht.
Yes. But yes, so Abaddon was badly wounded in this fight, and he makes more pacts with the Infernal Powers. And after dispatching with the bloody Black Templars, he finds his way down into some crypts.
Are we going to get into the "you're going to die like your father," or is that going to get me in Sigismund's episode?
That's going to be in his episode.
Yeah, because basically, Abaddon did his best to try and take down Sigismund, and Sigismund, I will say, is probably the best fighter.
He does kill Sigismund.
No, that's what I mean. Is that Sigismund is really one of the best fighters in all of Warhammer. But the thing is that obviously this is a couple of 100 or 1,000 years after the Horus Heresy, and he's old, and he's going up against a souped-up Abaddon, and Abaddon just says to him, to the others after the fact. Well, warp shenanigans either way. But the thing is that one of them's souped up on chaos, the other one isn't. And like, after the fight, they were like, how was the fight with Sigismund? And then Abaddon's just like, he wouldn't die.
Took him ages to kill him.
Yeah.
And so he got quite wounded in the process.
Is it like that scene of in Invincible where he's just like beating his son and he just won't die?
Yeah, basically. But then he travels down into some of the crypts under this world that they were trying to get to. And can you guess what he finds there?
No.
A really fucking cool sword.
Oh.
Yeah. He finds Drachnian.
The fucking sword.
The Howling Demon Blade.
So he just found it, like it wasn't given to him.
No, this demon sword was kind of calling to him, wasn't it?
Yes, yeah, that was basically the purpose of the First Crusade.
Okay.
And he's like,
The first purpose of the Crusade was to get out of the Eye of Terror and to get out of the warp, take on the Black Templars, and find the sword.
Yeah, well,
which is
they
a pretty
knew
boss
that the Black Templars were coming for them.
Yeah.
And the Black Templars, they knew that the Black Legion and all the traitors had survived. But the higher-ups, the humans on Terra, were like, no, they didn't.
But the Black Templars were like, we're going to stay protecting and guarding the Cadia system where the Eye of Terror is, because we don't trust the fact they're dead. And turns out they weren't dead. And then the funny thing is that they end up finding out that they worship the Emperor as a god, and they all literally almost die of laughter.
Yes.
So did he know that he was looking for a sword, or did he was just getting a calling from something and he just went?
The warp gods were leading him towards his future, his destiny.
Okay. Yeah.
He finds a sick-ass blade and he's like, with this, I will slay thousands of worlds, kind of thing. And he did.
I have the power.
I have the power. So then we have Black Crusades 2 through 11.
Boring as shit.
Unimportant stuff happened.
Because basically the way game
burned worlds, but he was GW's bad guy and wasn't allowed to complete
the way
win.
the GW went about it was that the first Crusade was him coming back, biggest one, and then they were like, okay, well the 13th one is technically the unlucky one. What does he do in between them?
Yeah. We don't know. We don't know. There is nothing on it.
It's like
here's the thing. We know what he did. It's just there's nothing about it.
It's like those two chapters.
It's like a no. It's not even that. It's like a sentence each.
You look at the lexiconum, and the Warhammer wiki. Nothing.
Oh,
nothing on them.
Nothing.
So they just skip them.
Well, you can assume.
Okay. So in one of the characters is found in the 5th Crusade, and it's on this world. That's the information we have. It's like the 7th Crusade.
This also
happened.
This also happens over 10,000 years, between 30k and 40k. So you can assume that one happens every 1,000 years or so, at least.
Yes, because it's like the 37th millennium was the 37th millennium was the First Crusade, I think, and then they continued on to the 39th millennium was the 13th Crusade.
Was it that long?
Yeah.
Oh. I thought
some of these crusades actually went on for like 100 years or more, like themselves.
I thought it was earlier than that they came out of the Eye of Terror, like the 32nd.
I don't think so. I'm pretty sure I've read it before, but I've forgotten now. But I'm pretty sure it was the 37th was the first one. You can look it up. I can't remember.
I'm going to double check. Not because I don't trust you, but because I just genuinely thought it was they were only in the Eye of Terror for 1,000 years.
Sometimes the dates blur together for me. M31. not M37. I
Fuck.
misread it.
5 centuries after his retreat from Terra. So yeah, that was when he came out. Because he's been fighting that whole 10,000 year war.
Oh yeah, it's the Long War.
Yeah.
So
The
then,
longest war.
So yeah, and then the 12th Black Crusade was also called the Gothic War, where he gained at least 2 Blackstone fortresses. Now,
These are like all words that I've heard before. I've heard like Gothic.
yes, so there's
And I've heard of Blackstone.
there's like a Gothic sector in space. That's why it's called the
because
Gothic
it's a
War.
separate game
Yes.
that
Yeah.
you can play. It's like Gothic Battle.
Battle
or
World Gothic or something like that.
Yeah, something like that. And then
Battleship Gothic.
Blackstone.
Blackstone Fortresses is this.
Yes, so they are mysterious constructions that predate the Imperium
Oh.
and have insane destructive power.
They're about the size of the Phalanx or bigger than the Phalanx, I think.
Yeah, like I'd say bigger because
Probably
they're
a bit
enough
bigger.
to destroy a world.
Yeah.
Because I know that there's like
Foreshadowing.
a game-
There's,
Foreshadowing.
there's another game called Blackstone
Like-
where you have to go through the Blackstone Fortress.
Yeah, and it's like like a mini board game sort of thing. It's not
Yeah.
I'm
like,
told it's fun.
yeah. Hey, maybe for our 100 subscribers.
Which we would also like to thank you.
Yes. So he destroyed a bunch of planets, but then the fucking space elves intervened and stopped the total destruction of the Imperial forces.
I don't like it when
The
they're not-
humans got their asses saved by the Eldar in most of these Black Crusades.
I don't like the knife ears unless they help me and fuck you. Ha ha ha. Ha.
Yeah, and the Imperium's still like, but we still want to kill you, knife ears. And it's well, they're
that
the
what
only
they call
reason
them?
that Abaddon hasn't killed you. The only thing that stops Abaddon's crusades is the fucking Eldar. Every
Sounds
time.
like a skill issue.
Is that what they call them? The knife ears?
Yeah,
No,
because
it's,
they got
it's a
pointy ears.
derogatory, insulting term. But they call us Monkai, like monkey. So
Yeah,
so fuck
because we're
them.
descended from apes, and
Right,
they're like,
yeah.
Monkai!
yeah,
But this brings us to the 13th Black Crusade.
unlucky.
This is amazing. This was the best one.
This
It
is
was
gonna-
basically
this is gonna-
endgame.
This is going to get its own episode, but this
Yes.
is basically Endgame with how many players showed up.
Yes, to
Oh,
go
Endgame.
through...
Okay, I was like,
Avengers Endgame.
yeah,
Yeah.
I'm like, what game? Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
gotcha.
yeah. So it's... We'll absolutely get its own episode. I won't go into too much detail because there's
You won't be able
so much that
You won't
happens.
be able
Yeah. But it was the largest mobilization of Chaos forces since the Siege of Terra.
Also, to put into timeline perspective, this is before Gilliman came back.
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
There are
okay.
no Primarchs, except for the Demon Primarchs.
Yeah. Because everyone's either dead or left.
Actually,
Yes.
this is when Mortarion came out, wasn't it?
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
The fortress world of Cadia, which is a planet right next to the Eye of Terror.
And Cadia, the whole Cadia system was like militarized as because they were like the bastion to keep chaos inside the Eye of Terror.
Yeah, have you heard of the
so-
Cadian shock troopers?
Yes.
Yeah, they're the Astra Militarum.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the most basic one.
They're the ones
the
that are-
basic military. But
Yeah.
like,
And have you
they're-
seen the meme of Cadia still stands?
Yeah, Cadia stands.
Cadia,
All right, it's a big meme that's going around. It always goes around like Cadia stands.
It's
there's a
only by
reason
the
why.
Astra Militarum nuts.
Yeah, by the military boys. But like this
All six of
this
them.
world, because
No, there's thousands of those boys.
this system, because it's so close to the Eye of Terror,
died.
it became a bastion world, I think it's called,
Yeah.
where it's basically nothing but a military world, and then all of its surrounding worlds were just used to support Cadia.
It's a military world. Their biggest export is people for the military.
Yeah,
Oh, okay.
and then they become sort of like the standard for soldiers throughout the rest of the galaxy.
Yeah, and they are one of the most. They are like the most favored, like Imperial Guard color scheme that everyone does.
It's the most
and-
basic of basic, but for a reason.
Yeah, and they're like the most popular.
Okay.
So the fortress world fell under
Fortress
Abaddon's massive assault. Horus then, well, lots of stuff happened, but then Horus crashed the Blackstone Fortress into the planet's surface, shattering the planet.
Yeah, long story short, big fight ensued between many different types of factions.
Yeah.
And it
And
ended
chapters.
with him.
Hundreds of chapters.
So many factions
Yeah.
were involved in this. Necrons were involved, Mechanicus, Titans.
A Necron was involved.
Space Marine chapters, all Space Marine chapters were pretty much involved in this.
Yeah.
Heaps of guardsmen, like so many.
Millions and millions and millions.
Yeah.
Jesus.
Yeah.
And this is all to what, like, stop them from getting into the Eye of Terror?
I'll tell you
No,
about the
no.
purpose in a
This
second.
is
I'll
the
tell you
reason
about
why.
the purpose in a
Yeah.
second. So this destroyed the Cadian pylons, great big towers, built by the Necrons a long time before humanity, which held the Eye of Terror in check. They basically work as anti-magic fields.
Yeah.
So they are what stopped the Eye of Terror
Opening
from
anymore.
ripping open and spreading across half the galaxy.
Anymore, yep.
Yeah.
But this, because they destroyed it, led to the eruption of the Cicatrix Maledictum, the Great Rift. And so that picture that Blake showed before, where half the galaxy is black,
And split.
Oh, yeah, yep.
Yes.
It's the reason why the galaxy split in two.
it divided the territory of the Imperium in half, dimming the light of the Astronomicon, which is the light the Emperor gives off, on the side that they cut off with the rift, which is now known as the Dark Imperium.
Oh, okay.
Yes, like the book that you opened up but haven't started reading.
Hey, I'll get there.
Yeah. Again, though, fucking space elves and a little help from one Necron saved the Imperium and forced Abaddon to withdraw victorious.
What's the
But
whole
the world
one,
exploded. Cadia, boom, planet's gone.
What's the whole one Necron thing?
Trays in the Infinite is a fucking...
Trays in the Infinite is like the
is a-
biggest. Yeah.
So that's why the galaxy split in half. But
Trays in the
Trays in the
Infinite's a
Infinite,
G.
he's going to get his own episode after we explain what Necrons are.
Oh man, Trays in the Infinite is a G. He is like possibly the coolest character in all of Warhammer.
He's fun. He's funny as.
He's hilarious.
So he's just one. I thought you were
He's
like,
like an art collector.
okay, because I thought when you were saying,
Imagine Indiana Jones as a robot.
because I thought when you were saying like one Necron, I thought you meant like there's like a bunch of Necrons that share one mind or something like that.
No, just one Necron.
No,
just
no,
mean
just
one-
Trays in the Infinite.
You just mean
Remember the
one
name
singular.
Trays in the Infinite because he's very important.
Okay. So is he a good Necron or is he a bad?
There's no such thing, but yeah, let's go with that.
Self-serving. He's self-serving, but
So he's like the collector in
He
Marvel.
helped. So he helped.
bit.
He
Okay.
helped it because there were things that he wanted to collect on Cadia before it blew up.
Yeah.
And he
So
loves
he's-
he loves collecting moments as well. And this being the death of Cadia,
Yeah. So he
Oh,
took
it was
a
a
whole
big
bunch
moment.
of Cadian shock troopers, froze them in time, and displays them in his galaxy. In
in his little
gallery.
museum.
So
Yeah.
he is the collector from.
Yeah, he's basically got his own
He's-
little
he's
museum.
yeah.
No, but this is going to fuck you up even more. And people who know what I'm talking about will know what I say when I say this. He's basically when you get the collector from Marvel, mix him with Ash Ketchum from Pokemon.
Yeah.
Gotta catch them all.
Gotta catch them all.
Yeah,
As in people.
Everything.
Everything.
everything, not just
Everything.
people.
He collects anything interesting.
Yeah, he's
Does
like,
he then
oh,
make
that's
them
nice.
fight?
Thank you.
No.
No,
He just likes looking at them. If anyone touches his precious creations, he goes fucking wild.
yeah. And then on
But
top,
this is not a Necron episode.
Again, yeah, this is not the Cadian episode, nor is this the Trays in the Infinite episode.
Yeah.
But he's a G.
Back to fucking space elves ruining the fun of chaos. Yes, so then they forced them to withdraw. Technically victorious. They blew up Cadia.
I would say
so-
technically victorious, but in the same way that they were victorious in the Horus Heresy. Like, they're technically victorious, but they also weren't.
Well, the Cicatrix Maledictum, they opened up the Eye of Terror. Now, warp shit, and they can get in and out of the warp much easier.
They're not having to
It's
go
not-
through.
Because the
one
problem is
opening.
that getting out of the Eye of Terror is quite hard, and it's impossible because of many other reasons that we'll get into in another episode. But it's genuinely difficult to get out of the Eye of Terror.
The Eye of
But
Terror is a bit constipated. It takes a bit of squeezing.
Oh,
There are forces on the inside that stop you from getting
from
out.
getting out.
And but now that the Cicatrix Maledictum's now open, it's like
It's a
opened up
gaping
the
arsehole.
galaxy. Shut up. idiot. And now it's so much easier for all the other forces and demons
Bloody
as
Rose.
well. Like entire worlds have been engulfed by the Cicatrix Maledictum, and they've been like turned into chaos worlds.
So they
demons have
so
now
If there was any worlds that were,
inside them, but they're gone.
they're now
Yeah,
like
on that half of the map,
Yeah.
past the Eye of Terror,
they're now like
they're
nerd
now the
worlds
Dark
or-
Imperium.
But also worlds that were in the pathway of the Cicatrix Maledictum, they're gone. They're chaos worlds now.
Yes.
Yeah.
And on top of that, it is now so much more easier for demons to come out,
Yes.
and demons are just popping up randomly all over. And on top of that, there's more psychers being born, and there's more psychers.
Yeah,
So I'm guessing there's more
tides
warp
are going-
energy
in
Yeah,
them.
warp tides are
Yeah.
going wild. You can't travel through the warp using the Emperor's light
As
on
easy,
the
at
Dark
least.
Imperium because you can't fucking
See
see it.
Yeah.
So yeah, and that basically brings us to pretty much current 40k, where one of the more recent ones, Abaddon invaded the planet Vigilus to destroy the planet's Blackstone deposits. The Blackstone is what holds back the warp powers.
Which is why it's also Blackstone Fortresses.
Yes, and
yep.
and to seal the Nakmund Gauntlet, which is basically like a thin tunnel through the Eye of Terror to get to the Dark Imperium that the Imperial forces were using, and and that's basically being held up by these Blackstone deposits.
Yeah.
And so Abaddon fights Mornius Calgar, Mr. Gorillafist. Calgar.
yeah.
Yes,
Chapter
yeah.
Master of the Ultramarines.
The Ultramarines chapter master. And he nearly kills him on the surface. Calgar basically taunts him down. He comes down, starts bodying Calgar to absolute shit. But this was a trap. And while he's on the surface, the Ultramarines, helped again by the fucking Eldar, start...
Why are you looking at me? I don't like them.
I know, I'm just like... "Ugh." But yeah, they start attacking the Vengeful Spirit.
Because the thing is that Eldar have this annoying ability of just turning up whenever things are about to go good for you. Because of their foresight, and because that they can see into the future.
They know when to come out
Yeah.
and mess it up.
Yeah, and they prefer helping the humans to chaos because they can't let Slanesh get a grip on them.
Yeah.
Yeah. Forces of Chaos are infinitely more terrifying to the Eldar than
Than the-
Monkai.
They're stronger, they're more dangerous than the Imperium.
Yep.
So this made him choose between killing Kelgar or saving his prized ship.
Definitely the ship.
So he goes back to the ship. He reclaims the ship, makes a quick transition to the warp, and starts repairs back on their planet. And this is when Demon Vashtor joins us. Daemon Vashtor.
So, yep. So,
Well, he's not a demon.
He is a demon.
Well, he's not a demon. He's a god, isn't he?
No, he's not a god.
Not yet.
He wants to be the fifth Chaos God.
So to point out what Vashtor is basically the tech god.
yeah.
I just said it. He's a daemon.
Yeah, he's a tech.
But yeah,
I
but
know he's okay.
He forms an alliance with Abaddon, and
Because
but the Arcs of Omen will get their own.
Because to
episode.
point out, Abaddon is having a problem trying to manage all four gods. If you give one attention to one, if your attention to too much to one god, the other god's going to get pissed.
Yeah.
And then you're doing this whole spinning plate game.
Yeah,
and then Vashtor
yeah.
comes along and he's just like, how about you help me become a god and make things a little bit easier for you?
Yeah.
Yes, and like you were about to say, Vashtor basically is responsible for all of the demon engines and production for all four of the Chaos Gods. So even though he's not a god himself, he's respected and left alone because
He makes
if he
them all
stops
the
making
toys.
demon engines for one of
Yeah.
them and gives them all to somebody else, he's going to tip the balance of power.
Yeah.
So that's why he's listed under Chaos Undivided in like the
He's like a third-party contractor when it comes to like mercenary work.
can't touch me
Yeah.
basically.
Because all user services, no one can control him.
Yeah.
Well, because of that, he's now wanting to become a god in his own right.
He wants.
Yeah.
Because
But
he wants
his
to.
story with Abaddon is all in the Arcs of Omen. We'll cover that all in their own episode.
Because he wants to become the fifth Chaos God
Vashtor does, yes.
in total.
Yes. So
Yeah.
he basically goes up to, just touching on it, he goes up to Abaddon and is like, hey, there's this thing called the Weapon made by the Old Ones. This is who the Old Ones are. Help me find it, and I'll give you all the shit you could possibly want.
So would he essentially be making almost Abaddon the Primarch of his? That's what he's.
No, more like,
like
a
Mortarion.
partner in crime.
Yeah,
more
no,
than
it's
anything else.
an alliance.
Yeah.
It's a line.
He's like, you
Okay.
help me, you
'Cause
scratch
Abaddon
my
would
back,
never-
I'll scratch your back.
Abaddon would never subserve himself to somebody else.
No.
Especially the Chaos Gods, and especially
Yeah.
somebody who wants to be a god.
He will not bow before anybody.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because learning from his father Horus, Horus went too balls deep in with chaos and became controlled by it in turn as opposed to controlling it. Whereas here Abaddon wants to try and touch base with each of the powers, so that way he gains the power, but he's not beholden to them.
He makes pacts, but he won't.
But at the same
become
time,
a servant of. Yeah.
however, at the same time, he also like dresses himself in iconography of the Eye of which you call the Emperor being a hypocrite. Abaddon is equally a hypocrite, in my opinion.
No, he wears them like he wears them as if like like you would somebody who sponsors your video. He would he wears them on the side, but they don't control what he produces.
Like an ad revenue kind of thing.
Like an ad revenue thing. He's like, hey, you give me your power, I'll wear your little badge on the shoulder pad. He's not like
the weakest argument I've heard, but
he's not like an Indy 500 driver who covers their car completely in it. He puts like one little eightfold path on his shoulder pauldron.
That's a very hairline distinction there.
I mean, it's exactly what it is. He's taking their power. He's gonna put a little like sponsorship logo on this.
What it is.
The bias is inherent in the system.
Also sponsor us, please.
All right. So what happens next with them?
Well, that's all I have for Abaddon. Were you happy to learn a bit more about your boy Abby?
I think it was also good coming from where we were with like the Siege of Terror and where we were sort of ending off.
Yeah.
It's good to see where he sort of then went, like, after Horus had died. The only unfortunate part is now we need to hear about the other side, apparently, what the good people did after the Emperor died.
Sweet fuck all.
Yeah.
You fucking kidding? They 360 no-scoped those freaks all the way back to the Eye of Terror.
You mean the Space Elves did?
Oh, Space Elves, or are you talking about the Space Marines?
No, I was talking
The
about...
Space Marines lost. It's the Space Elves that drove them back to Terra.
No, it wasn't. Wait, what are you talking about?
I was
to the Eye of
talking
Terror.
about the-
All
Yeah.
of the Crusades.
No, the Great Scouring.
The
like,
Imperium.
The Space Marines pushed them all back to the Eye of Terror.
Yeah, no, we heard about that with the Age of Apostasy. It's fine. We know what the Space Marines were doing.
Yeah,
They were doing
they fucking
fuck all.
Sweet.
No, they weren't. As I just said, they were handing the asses back to them, as you're about to find out in the Voidstalker book.
No. Anyway, yeah. So that's what we have for our Abaddon episode.
Well, so look, just to take a moment to actually kind of like think a little bit more about Abaddon's inner thinking, because you also got to remember as well that he, for the most part of the century, like in his first century, underneath Horus and working with him, thinking that this guy is about as close to absolute amazing that anyone's ever going to get.
Yeah.
And then to see him slowly degenerate into the madness of chaos. And then Abaddon's journey is just very interesting to look at, because he's seeing this person that he's idolized and modeled himself after,
Being
and
Horus,
then
yep.
seeing it being destroyed by his own in front of his own eyes, and then having to like mold his own perception, if you know what I mean. Like,
Yeah.
it's
I
like
think,
when you
I think his interesting character arc even starts before that. Before he becomes a Space Marine, he's like, oh, his dad's trying to make him a king, but he has to go through this thing where he has to kill his friends, and he's like, I won't do that. My friends mean too much to me. I don't want to be a king.
No.
And so he goes off to be alone, and it's like, well, I would rather like do my own thing and keep my friends rather than like rule and lose them. And
yeah.
so that's kind of who he was. And then when he was offered the position in the Space Marines, he was like, you know what? This is somebody worthy to serve under. I'm happy to serve. Let me serve under Horus.
Yeah.
Like, I'll be his right-hand man. I don't want leadership. I don't want that.
Yep.
And then he watches Horus, as you said, degenerate, go through all of that. And
Stay
then he
on the
gets
ship
back.
when-
He's like forced to take control. And then he like goes back to the Eye of Terror, and he's like, I don't want to lead. Goes off and does his own thing. And then, a purpose arises, and he's like, no, I can't let this abomination stand. I'm going to get the boys back together. And he fucking can. He can bring together legions.
He seems like the only one, the only one that we've talked about, but he seems like the only one that can actually get legions, even though they're on the same side, but they're not necessarily like...
Yeah, well, he
they don't
stopped the
necessarily
Civil
work.
War in
But
the Eye
yeah,
of Terror.
he can actually get people together.
there was
Yeah.
a little bit more of a selfish interest. It was more or less like he's like, I don't care that you hate me. as long as you hate the Imperium more than you hate me.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so he managed to unite forces like the Death Guard and the Thousand Suns.
Who
the Death
don't
Guard
like- who do not like each other.
hate the Thousand Suns.
And he was able to get them to work
He
together.
got the Night Lords to work with others.
even though
That's
they...
fucking impossible.
Yeah,
the
Night
Night
Lords
Lords
fake.
can't even make the Night Lords work together.
Yeah.
Like,
Based Night Lords.
yeah. One Night Lord that we'll talk about in the Black Legion episode in particular. My
Is it
actual favorite.
Is it Kurz?
No, it's
No,
Talos.
Kurz
isn't
is
it?
dead at this point.
Oh, that's right. He's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not Telos. I like somebody more than Telos. And it's not Sevatar. I like somebody more than Sevatar. But
Fair
yes,
I don't know
anyway,
who any of these people are.
I just want to take a quick moment to say thank you to all the people watching and subscribing. We do this for you, even though we do it for ourselves as well.
We'd be doing it even if they weren't recording.
We would, but
Arguing.
it's fantastic to see that people are enjoying our videos and watching them, and so I just wanted to say thank you. I hope you continue to enjoy our absolute ridiculous shenanigans that we go down this journey with James about Warhammer 40k.
Turning me into chaos.
Yeah, well, I mean, I already did that before we started the podcast, so it's fine.
Speak for yourself. I'm just trying to suss out how much of a heretic you both are.
Did you say sus?
Yeah, sus.
Oh, no, we can't say that word, apparently.
Yeah, no, TikTok doesn't like that word.
No.
As we found out.
As I found out.
Yeah, but anyway, thanks for listening. I've been Corbin, taking us on this journey of heresy.
I've been Blake tolerating it.
And I've been James loving it.
All right, and I just have one last thing to say before we finish. Bloody Rose.
For the glory of chaos!